Now, there are fears Britain could be heading for another property recession after figures show the longest sustained fall in house prices since the peak of the financial crisis. It's just the latest gloomy economic news to emerge on the cusp of the general election and following months of uncertainty over Brexit. Andrew Teacher is an independent property analyst and managing director for Blackstock Consulting. Many thanks indeed for joining us, Andrew. So, is this a blip, or should we be concerned?
I don't think we need to be. Packing up and heading for the hills just yet. Look, I mean, I think if you've got a 3-year-old boy or 3-year-old girl, and that 3-year-old boy or girl stops growing totally and doesn't move at all, then there's a need to worry. If your house price stops growing by a couple of percent, there's no need to really get up and get upset as people seem to be doing today. I think that we have had a bit of a blip over the last year or so. That's largely been down to a barrage of tax changes from the government. We've had stamp duty hikes. We've had the tax breaks removed for buy-to-let lenders, for buy-to-let investors. And all of these things have stacked up and have contributed to a bit of a stagnation. But I don't think we need to get upset about that. We don't have to see perpetual growth in house prices. That isn't in itself a good thing.
Just looking at one of the figures here, average house prices have fallen by 0.2% between April and May. To what extent is the uncertainty of the outcome of the general election, the uncertainty about the Brexit negotiations, what extent do they play a part in the effect on the housing market right now?
Well, uncertainty always plays a part. If you're going to make a massive investment decision, such as buying a house for hundreds of thousands of pounds, you want to be sure that there's going to be, you want to be sure you're going to have a job. You want to be sure you're going to have money to pay your mortgage. But I think we've got to view things in the round. And yeah, we see these data, these reports come out, like the one featured in today's copy of the Times. But nowhere in this country has a house moved in price by 0.2%. These are massive generalisations. You've got a hugely different housing market between London and between the rest of the country, and pockets of markets right across the UK. What we're seeing is transactions being largely stable over the last year or so. They're massively down on where they were 10 years ago. But when you look at the house price levels before the recession, we're still up on those by about 11 to 13%, depending on which reports you see. And I think what we need to have is a sensible discussion around tax. We need to be sensible around things like stamp duty, because the levels that we're at and measures that we've seen hit the market have really pulled down transaction levels, and that hurts everyone. It hurts the government because less people are buying houses, less people are spending money on moving house, and it hurts people trying to get onto the ladder because there just isn't that churn right at the bottom.
If there is a fourth period of decline, what does that ultimately mean for the wider economy?
Well, I think we need to be sensible about what rising house prices actually mean. Now, you're not any better off until you've either sold that property or remortgaged it and got a slightly better valuation. House prices going up by a couple of percent doesn't make you any richer. And much of this is all around psychology. It's that thought process that you open the paper on a Saturday morning over your cereal and think, oh wow, I'm 5% richer. I'm going to go and buy a new car. And that's largely how this government and previous governments have treated housing. They see it as a bit of a way to get people spending more money. Now, what I'd like to see is a continued focus on build to rent. You've got some great businesses like Essential Living and Moda Living building blocks of houses for rent at the minute. That's a good thing for the economy. It's a good thing for consumers. We want to see Help to Buy continuing. You've got businesses again like Countryside who have committed just to selling houses in the UK because Help to Buy is a great way of getting first-time buyers on the ladder. And we need to see a bit of a drawback in stamp duty. It's clobbering the market, and I think it's one of these things that isn't going to help raise money in the long term.
To what extent do we need to look at the national picture, and to what extent do we need to focus more on the regional picture? Because, you've got a lot of demand for houses. We've been hearing politicians time and time again saying we need more housing. The Labour Party has pledged to build 1 million houses in their manifesto. Is it the right thing to be doing to be looking at this nationally? Because surely it must vary from whether you're in the northeast of the country or the southwest.
Well, look, the only political pledges that are a bigger pile of nonsense than house price and house development pledges are immigration pledges. Let's be honest. There's one set of numbers you can't trust from any politician. It's to what degree they're going to cut immigration, to what degree they're going to build homes. Every single party's pledging 1 million homes over slightly different periods, and it's frankly, I don't think anyone trusts it now. You're right to say that we do need to look at the regions, and we've obviously got major infrastructure projects like HS2 that open up opportunities. We've got Crossrail 2, which seemed to be weirdly lacking from the Conservative manifesto, having previously been in there last time around. These sorts of infrastructure projects, along with others like energy and other things, provide opportunities to really change the landscape of communities. And what I mean in plain English there is, if you're building a huge, great railway line, you're going to have pockets of development along that railway line that can build new communities, that can fund it through the uplift of land value. And that's one of the other things that we've got to focus on, is capturing that land value uplift from these big developments, ploughing it back into homes, and having a sensible discussion about how we support people right at the bottom of the ladder, rather than simply this rhetoric around, yeah, we're going to build 1 million homes and sort it all out. It won't sort it out. It won't sort it out until we focus on the real problems and look at how we tackle problems around healthcare, problems around education, problems around crime. All start with poor housing, and if we invest in that properly, we can fix many of society's ills.
Many thanks indeed for your expertise. You're watching Sky News. Still to come,